You may not be aware of this, but the moon holds a very large amount of water, and we only discovered this in 2009. It's a bit of a hidden gem. Now, why should you care about moon water? You might be wondering. Well, water in space is like gold. We can use it to create oxygen, as a hydrogen fuel source, or even as a refreshing drink when you're on a lunar vacation. Imagine that. But wait, there's more. In August 2023, Russia and India engaged in an exhilarating race to explore the lunar South Pole. India took the lead by launching their probe ahead of Russia. It appeared as though they might reach the finish line before Russia, and most people might think that this happened solely due to India being first to the party, but it's mostly because disaster struck Russia. Russia's Luna-25 probe, Luna-25, experienced a catastrophic event when it crash-landed on the moon. This marked Russia's first moon mission in nearly 5 decades, and it was a rough entry, causing a significant spectacle. The spacecraft spiraled out of control and struck the lunar surface, creating an unexpected crater that measured 33 feet in width and was situated more than 200 miles from its intended landing site. It was NASA that stumbled upon this crater, providing a visual testament to the mishap. The primary reason for the Luna-25 crash was attributed to an abnormal malfunction in the spacecraft's onboard control complex. Sadly, contact with Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, was lost just 47 minutes after the engine firing commenced. This mission aimed to showcase Russia's capability to deliver a payload to the moon, but it, unfortunately, faced a series of setbacks. And that's not all. NASA's astronauts are preparing to return to the moon in the upcoming years. But the lunar action doesn't stop there. Just last year, projections indicated approximately 250 lunar missions in the next decade. But here's the twist. This year, the estimate has surged to an astonishing 400 missions. It's almost as if the moon has become the hottest piece of real estate in the entire universe. Now, amidst all this lunar excitement, there's a bit of controversy in the mix. China is challenging India's claims, but for now, let's set that aside and focus on the incredible lunar exploration happening across the globe. Back on January 1st, 2020, India made a big announcement about a new lunar mission. And guess what? This announcement got the Russians all fired up. You see, Russia has quite a bit of experience in the space game, dating back to the 1950s and 60s when the Soviet Union took the lead. They've even landed 7 probes on the moon in the past. But this time, it didn't quite go as planned. Their spacecraft went off course and ended up crashing into the lunar surface. Experts are saying that a misfiring of the propulsion system might be the culprit. It's important to note that the last time Russia sent a probe to the moon was a whopping 47 years ago, so they might be a bit rusty. But here's the cool part. India managed to pull off their lunar landing on a budget. They did it for just $73 million. To put it in perspective, NASA missions often run into the billions. Russia's mission, on the other hand, cost almost 3 times as much at $200 million. Landing at the south pole of the moon is no walk in the park, let me tell you. The surface is riddled with craters, some kilometers deep, and the temperatures can plunge to a bone-chilling -200 degrees Celsius. Plus, the sun sits so low that it casts a pitch-black shadow, making landing even trickier. Lunar lander sensors have a tough time figuring out the depth of craters, or even if there are any. But India achieved something incredible. They became the first country to land on the moon's south pole, and they even found ice up there. Before this, the existence of lunar water was just a theory. Analyzing this water is a goldmine of information about the moon, our solar system, and even Earth itself. Now let's talk about India's Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft. It's got 3 main components: a propulsion module, a lander, and a rover. They've been busy conducting thermal, seismological, and mineral tests, which is pretty cool. But here's the kicker. After a few days of operation, it looks like they're having a bit of trouble waking up the rover from its nap. Meanwhile, the Americans are in full training mode, getting ready to head back to our lunar neighbor under NASA's Artemis program. It's a big deal because it's been a whopping 51 years since humans last set foot on the moon. The NASA-led Artemis program has some stellar partners on board, including Canada, Europe, Japan, Israel, Australia, and India. The program, launched in 2017, has some big dreams. The long-term goal is to establish a permanent base on the moon and to figure out if Mars exploration is a go. Let me break it down for you. In November 2022, there was a test flight. The Space Launch System, SLS rocket, and an Orion spacecraft with a dummy passenger on board successfully orbited the moon and safely touched down on Earth. This was all about testing the spacecraft's performance and its heat shield for re-entry. But the real deal is coming up. By 2025, they'll do the same thing, but with actual humans on board. The mission will last about 10 days. They'll start by orbiting the Earth for a day to check the life support systems. Then, they'll fire up the main engine to head towards the moon. They'll use gravity to slingshot themselves around the moon and back to Earth. The outbound trip will take about 4 days, sending the astronauts about 6,000 miles or 10,000 kilometers behind the far side of the moon. These astronauts could set a record for the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Starting in 2028, if all goes as planned, these Artemis missions will become a regular thing. The astronauts will take off and connect with a commercial human-rated landing vehicle, which is derived from SpaceX's Starship rocket. The ship will then ferry 2 astronauts to a landing site near the moon's south pole for some epic moonwalks before launching back into space for a rendezvous with the Orion spacecraft and the journey back to Earth. Here's the catch, though. These missions come with a price tag of around $4.2 billion each. This could put a squeeze on NASA's budget, so it's a wait-and-see situation. But for now, these astronauts are knee-deep in training to make this lunar dream a reality. The astronauts started their intensive training on June 21st, 2023, and they're in it for the long haul. 18 months of hard work and preparation. They're hitting the books, tackling simulator training, getting a taste of weightlessness aboard aircraft, and learning how to handle system failures. It's all part of the package to get them ready for their mission. But here's what makes it even more exciting. NASA astronauts had the privilege of receiving a pep talk from a real legend, Charlie Duke. He walked on the moon during the Apollo 16 mission back in April 1972. Now, at 87 years old, he's one of the 4 moonwalkers still with us. The cool thing is that all the astronauts on this latest mission were born after the Apollo landings. Times have changed, and the technology they're working with is on a whole new level. Charlie Duke shared some wisdom from his Apollo days, emphasizing how they were focused on completing the mission. One striking memory he shared was when they looked back at Earth from the far side of the moon. It hits you how far you are from home, but your focus remains on the mission. And you know what? This is a truly historic time for lunar exploration. When India landed on the moon, it sparked a range of reactions, some positive and unfortunately some negative. We've also got a bit of lunar squabbling in the mix. You know that China and India aren't exactly best buddies right now. So, a top expert in China's lunar exploration program chimed in, claiming that the Indian probe didn't quite land at the lunar South Pole. On Earth, the South Pole is anywhere between 66.5 and 90 degrees south, but on the moon, it's between 88.5 degrees and 90 degrees. The Indian probe landed at 69 degrees. Now, there's a bit of debate going on about whether it truly counts as a South Pole landing, but let's not take away from India's achievements. Landing a rover close to the lunar South Pole is a massive accomplishment. Either way, we'll just have to wait and see until this all plays out in the future. That's all for today on the moon and the emerging race around it. If you're interested in more lunar adventures or want some updates, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.